Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, on this magnificent Monday for another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. As always, if you are new to this channel and finding yourself on my videos for the first time today, don't forget to check out that subscribe button because we drop an update just like this one around 1 p.m. UK time every single day to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest that's happening in the crypto space, but also the broader markets. That's exactly what we're going to be doing in this video. We are going to be starting the video off with a clip of El Salvador's president calling out the Federal Reserve and exposing it for the scam that it really is. That is where we're going to be starting. You guys know we're a big advocate for people waking up to the financial shackles that have been placed around you with the fiat systems. In fact, we put our neck on the line. It doesn't do us any favors talking about that stuff, but it's something we're passionate about and really using this platform to get that message out there. So that's where we're going to be starting the video off. It's a lackluster week for economic data. The markets may enjoy that. On the topic of the broader markets, you're seeing lots of commodities really sell off. If you look at the likes of coffee, which had a sensational run, that's really got hit hard. Oil getting slammed on Sunday, and wheat and nat gas not doing too well. Now, we know the dollar's been gaining strength on the back end of inflationary fears, which we've said people are way too prematurely calling for that second leg. So we are going to be looking at that. We'll be looking at Bitcoin on the shorter term. I do think a run is about to take place. We might have some smaller structure on the smaller time frames that could see Bitcoin going back to its all-time high and then potentially setting up for broader upside. So I think we've got a good time ahead of us for Bitcoin. I also think it's going to gain ground against the likes of the SPY and other things, but we're not going to go into that. We then will be going over to the SPY and more broader indexes, not just in the US, but across the board. We'll look at the FTSE and a number of other things because they're all saying the same thing. And if you guys haven't considered becoming a Patreon yet, do consider it. And the first thing you've got to do, there's a number of things you've got to do. The first thing you've got to do is go and watch last night's meeting that we do as a group every single Sunday. We also have a Wednesday meeting. And when you join, also check out our 1 to 100K challenge. I am trying, and I may not succeed, there's no guarantees here, to turn £1,000 into £100,000 through investing in 5 selected cryptocurrencies that I think are in the right sector. You can take part in that. One of them, unfortunately, is already 60% up, but the others really haven't moved largely, or they're marginally up from when we got in. You can take part in that by becoming a Patreon. Link in the description. Check it out. If it's not for you, it's not for you. You can always leave after a month. We don't tie anybody in. And then we're going to be talking a little bit about Peter Brandt now chiming in on Bitcoin, saying it's the greatest trade of a lifetime. This is after he came out just a couple of weeks ago saying that he thought the Bitcoin top was in and why it might be in. He's now kind of saying, here we go, it's here. And actually, the indexes that we're going to look at in regards to the stock market do point to a similar thing. And then we'll be discussing Bitcoin versus Hong Kong ETF flows on day one. So a hell of a lot to get into. Let's start things off with a clip of El Salvador's president talking about the Federal Reserve System.
The Federal Reserve is nothing federal and has no reserves, right? So, they do print more money and they rob you from your wealth and from your savings, and that's immoral. But it's not only immoral, but it also destroys some basic economic principles, like, for example, saving or your pension. From these financial publications, they will print lies. But, you know, there's something special about lies is that they don't last long.
The thing with lies is they come to an end. Well, I say hopefully, but is it? I mean, there's going to be a lot of chaos in regards to the unwinding of the fiat systems, the debt-based systems. One thing that is taking place is this great awakening going on across the board in regards to the world that we've been told, or the reality that we've been given perhaps isn't. And we'll leave that there. Let's talk about what we have ahead of us. So it is going to be a lackluster week, to be honest with you. Today, obviously, it's a bank holiday in the UK. I think parts of the UK, I don't actually think Scotland has a bank holiday. I might be wrong on that. But you do have a lot of UK data in regards to Bank of England rate decision, UK GDPs, UK construction PMIs, Royal Bank of Australia rate decision, but it's not an overly zealous week. It's not as jam-packed as it has been. I think the markets may appreciate that, and they certainly already are starting to. Let's talk about commodities. So there was a lot of pressure put on the dollar on the back end of inflation. And we've said actually the second wave of inflation we don't believe is here. Now, I could see coffee going higher. This looks like a stage 1 to me and a pullback after an explosive breakout on volume. However, the likes of coffee got hit really hard yesterday. Also, wheat getting a bit of a beating, easing the kind of anti-risks. So this is wheat selling off actually quite hard yesterday, I believe. You've got oil, which chart is forever ruined due to what took place. This coming down a little bit. And remember the dollar kind of hopefully coming with it. So we may have a good week ahead of us for risk generally. Remember, we've looked at a number of these to say this is why we're not, this is nat gas in the inflation is going to spike and we're going to have a 1970s style resurgence, because I'm just simply not seeing it yet. If you look at PCEs, CPIs, whatever you want to do, PMIs, not PMIs, they're all kind of really going sideways, or PPIs. So what I want to do now that we've spoken about the fact that there's a lackluster week ahead, we're talking about short-term kind of levers in markets. Lackluster week ahead, you're seeing commodities come off. I think the dollar's coming off a little bit. You might see markets do quite well. Is actually dive over to Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin looks absolutely beautiful and spectacular. You know, this is very much following the roadmap that we have set out for it, and has been since we got back into the market at 15K. That call was a spectacular one that we don't get enough credit for. But we've had a bit of a pullback, as expected. Risk generally has. If we look at something like the SPY, it also has. Remember, Bitcoin is just a higher beta. SPY actually setting up quite nicely. Bit of a broadening pattern to the downside, descending pattern in what is a broader uptrend that you may now have broken out of. Let's talk about Bitcoin and where it's at on the short term. So I actually think Bitcoin is going back to new all-time highs, and then is likely or potentially going to set structure up here that could, a bit of a range. Range traders will love this. Break the upside of the range and actually project a little bit higher, certainly to the 80Ks, and that's going to come likely in May. Let's drop down the time frames. Let's go with a 2 hour, and you can see the structure. I think those of you that watch me regularly that I'm calling on here, essentially a bit of an inverse head and shoulders that we're looking at on the short term. We'll use TradingView's tool for this. You can see what it is we're looking at. And you're essentially away. The important thing is that you don't run this right shoulder. If this plays out, and it may be playing out, you did have a little bit of a break on volume. It was certainly 2x the prior session, and we're on a 2 hour chart here. Let's see what it looks like on the 4 hour. Yeah, it was certainly elevated, but took a bit of a beating. I still think this is a triggering event that is ultimately potentially going to see Bitcoin run to 72,000 on the short term, which will coincide with all these highs over here. And then you may, there's a number of things going on here. It looks very bull flag-esque. You can see this. Bit of a bull flag setting up. If you do decide on the short term, and that short term pattern plays out, to run into this upside, that's going to basically set you up what could be a bit of a broader pattern. Now, if that triggers, and lots of if, buts, and maybes, just a scenario to watch for, guys. Certainly, we've got the backdrop maybe with a lackluster news week. You may be looking for a little bit of upside to maybe the 90s. We'll see what happens. Can take a while to play out. But this looks good so far, certainly on the short term. Bitcoin may have bottomed here and see that upside. On the back end of, also you've got levers going on with a lot of your inflationary commodities sort of coming off. Dollar, it's going to alleviate that pressure on the dollar. Hopefully we see yields sort of fall. But watch this on the short time frame. So the bigger time frame we'll see. It does look very bull flag-esque what Bitcoin's been doing, but this is certainly present, potentially looking for us to run to 72,000. I want to talk about the scenario in regards to where we are looking at markets across the various different continents and looking at what they're all telling you. And they're all breaking out into new all-time highs. At a time, the fiat systems are at their stressed. I did a lot longer talk on this actually yesterday in my Patreon meeting. But this is a SPY. SPY just had a pullback. Where did it pull back to? Actually, inverse head and shoulders target that's now acting as a key level of significance. If we look at the NASDAQ, all of these charts look good, coming around and supporting up that 30 weekly moving average. If we look at the German DAX, this actually made our target. We have huge success with this pattern. We're calling a lot of these patterns for a lot of our altcoins. You can see this actually made its target. If we look at something like the FTSE, which I should have on here. Yeah, I do. Breaking out into new all-time highs. I mean, look at this. It's no coincidence. And people are bearish on the market. You don't get bearish when things break out into all-time highs. something like Apple. Remember, we've got that higher target for Amazon. Everyone was telling us, don't buy Amazon, Jeff Bezos selling this stock. We're saying, no, we're technical traders. We don't follow the news like everybody else. And even if you look at, for example, the Nikkei, you can use the daily Nikkei all-time highs, or if you want, you could use the index. It's a bullish picture across the board, and if you divide these markets by crypto or crypto by these markets, crypto is going to be the fastest mover of them all. Not just the stock markets that we're looking at here, flying through this. See this breaking out at all time. Also things like gold. You know, you've got some of like your nifty 50s. You can see me trying to show people stage analysis back there. I'm actually bullish. I'm bullish across the board on pretty much everything because I'm bearish on the fiat systems. Going back to the president of El Salvador's comments. Everything breaking out. It's a great time we got ahead of us. This aligns with the global liquidity cycle, so on and so forth. We got our macro backdrop to be bullish, our micro backdrop, our technical backdrop. Everything is very much in line, and we don't see other people, other crypto channels talking about this sort of stuff because people just have their blinkers on. And we've always said often the answers to crypto can lie elsewhere. Peter Brandt now chiming in, Bitcoin, the trade of a lifetime. There has never been and never again will be another asset like Bitcoin. Premature to say that. Here is a perspective from my 50-year career as a professional trader. Just the other week he was saying or hinting that the Bitcoin top might be in, and that might be the cycle. Traders can change. I actually like Peter Brandt. I think he's more traditional technical analysis, which is what I am. And he's highlighting very much what is technically signaled, not just in the crypto space, but across the board. Certainly on the short term, watch out for that scenario to take place. And the last thing for me to talk to you guys about before I love and leave you is Bitcoin versus Hong Kong. Bitcoin US versus Hong Kong ETF flows on the first day. So Hong Kong did underperform. But I do think, you know, if you look at what happened with gold, the SPY, when they had their ETFs, they went on a real run after it. And we think very much the same thing is now in place for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to be the fastest horse in a asset, essentially bubble that's caused by the acceleration of the devaluation of the debt and or the proliferation of the debt and thus the devaluation of the whole system. This is the great game. We try and highlight it on a regular basis so that people can sort of do something about it through investing and you know, taking a little bit more of an interest in finance. But we've covered a lot. On the short term, it does seem like we've got a lackluster week for news, relatively. A lot of commodities coming off. That might alleviate pressure on the dollar, which might see crypto do quite well and risk generally. Bitcoin does have some smaller structure. And if you look at the broader picture across the board with markets, various different indexes across different geographic locations, they're all breaking out into all-time highs and look really great, which is kind of signifying this really bullish environment that we're in, that you can see a fundamental backdrop for, that it is also technically signaled. So that is it from me, ladies and gentlemen. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks a lot for watching. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. See you soon.